What's the main reason to learn languages? Is it to better yourself and be able to advance in this job ladder? Nah. Or maybe it's to attract a mate. Maybe your soulmate doesn't speak the language you speak, and then if you learn their language, then you'll be able to connect with your long-last soulmate. But meh. The only real reasons to learn a language are to talk smack, to the most practical reasons to learn a new language are obviously to 1, talk smack, to 2, know where the bathroom is, and number 3, obviously, to order as many of the most delicious foods that you've never had before in that other language. So now food is really important, especially in Cantonese culture. If you learn Mandarin, you might be thinking, oh, I can probably just transliterate and then say the Mandarin words in Cantonese. But you'd probably be wrong. Now, most words between Mandarin and Cantonese, they'll use the same actual word, right? So for example, like water, it's written exactly the same, it's just spoken slightly different, right? Shui versus sui. Or something like cow, right? Niu versus ao, right? It's actually the same word, it's just we just say it differently, right? But there are a few words where we actually use a completely different word. If you thought just learning Mandarin would be fine, you can use those words, but most Cantonese people won't use those direct translations from the Mandarin word. Instead, we'll use different words. And I'm going to be listing off those different words so that you don't find yourself looking like a fool next time you're trying to speak in Cantonese, but you're using the Mandarin equivalent, which is not actually equivalent, but just the different Mandarin word rather than Cantonese word. So here we go. This video is just going to highlight some of the differences between Mandarin and Cantonese for specific foods or for specific words that have to do with just eating and food in general. Number 1, the word cook or to cook. So in Mandarin, you'll use the word 做, right? Like 我做饭, right? Which directly translates to I cook food, but directly translates to I do food. Cantonese people won't use that word. We don't use the word 走, which is how you say 做 in Cantonese. We use the word 煮, which is a completely different word. And that word only means to cook. Next word, to bake, in Mandarin is 烤. In Cantonese, that word would be 好, but we don't use that word. Instead, we use the word 焗, which means to bake, or can also mean like something's really stuffy, right? So you make the food feel really stuffy. So like if, you know, like when you enter a car on a really hot day, and it's really like stuffy, right? You'd say 好焗. But you would also you use that same exact word for when you want to bake like a cake or something. 焗蛋糕. The next word. What do you do with that food? After you cook it, you eat it, right? Eat is also said differently. In Mandarin, the word for eat is 吃, right? And directly translated to Cantonese would be 吃. But we never use that word. Some like older people use that word, but then people usually seem that as like more like less educated. So instead of using the word 吃, which also sounds really ugly, right? 吃饭, right? 吃.
Oh, you gotta give him that
吃. Instead of using that word, we use the word sick. So just a random fact, it's pretty cool because the word sick, right? You can see that in actually the Korean language. For Korean for restaurant is 식당, 식. It just basically directly translates to sick. And then tang, which directly translates to more like a bigger room or like almost like a hall, right? Like a dining hall, right? Instead of using the word 吃 or 喝 in Cantonese, we use the word sick. Next word, while you're eating, you want to drink something, right? Drink is also said differently. In Mandarin, it's pronounced 喝, right? 我喝水, right? I drink water. Instead of using 喝 for, which is the Cantonese way of saying 喝, we use the word 飲. Next word, what do you drink? You drink water, right? And what water do we drink? We have to drink hot water because cold water is bad for you and you should never drink it, according to every single Chinese mom ever. So the difference is, in Mandarin, the word for boiled water is 开水, which directly translates to open water. But in Cantonese, we don't say 开水, which is open water in Cantonese. We use the word 滾水, which directly translates to boiled water. We use the word for boil more than we use the word for open. So in Mandarin, 开水, in Cantonese, 滾水. So those are like the overarching stuff. Now let's go into more specifics and just talk about specific types of food. Ice cream. We all know the Mandarin word for ice cream thanks to John Cena. Thank you, John Cena.
早上好，中国！现在我有冰淇淋，我很喜欢冰淇淋。
冰淇淋 is ice cream. We all know that, right? No one really says 冰淇淋, which is the Cantonese way of saying 冰淇淋. Instead, what we say is 雪糕, which directly translates to snow cake. Snow cake. Cool thing is, did you know that 冰淇淋 is actually a loan word? 冰淇淋 actually comes from, it's kind of weird, but like 冰淇淋 comes from the Cantonese word 冰淇淋, right? Or 冰淇淋, right? Depends on how you say it. Let's break this down, right? So 冰 in Mandarin or 冰 in Cantonese directly translates to ice in English, right? So let's look at the next part. 冰淇淋, qilin. Qilin doesn't sound like anything. What English word does that sound like? But let's go to the Cantonese word. So qilin directly translated in Cantonese is kei lum. Does kei lum sound like anything? Kei lum sounds very similar to cream, right? Kei lum. Like, okay, not very similar, but like you can kind of see kei lum to cream. You can kind of see the connection, right? The relationship. So the Mandarin word for 冰淇淋 actually came from the Cantonese word for 冰淇淋, which came from the English word as a borrowed word for ice, which is just directly translated 冰, and then 淇淋, cream. So now I know that 冰淇淋 is actually a borrowed word. Sweet potato. I don't know why sweet potato is always on my channel, but sweet potato. So Mandarin, sweet potato is 地瓜, which directly translates to floor or ground melon, right? Which kind of makes sense, right? It's kind of like a ground melon. But in Cantonese, we don't say 地瓜, which is 地瓜directly transliterated into Cantonese. We use the word 番薯. And as I said before, 番薯is also a way to call someone an idiot or just call someone like a useless, stupid, right? But more in like a cutesy way, right? So you just call someone like a 番薯, like if you call your son like, oh, he didn't do anything, he's a 番薯, right? He's just sitting there. That's what we would call sweet potato. We say 番薯and we don't say 地瓜. I mean, you can say it, but then we automatically know that like, oh, you're not a native Cantonese speaker. If you want to keep secretive and be like, I'm one of you guys, you say 番薯, not 地瓜. Now, in this word, everyone, I'm saying everyone, or at least a lot of people, know how to say this one food in Cantonese. Corn. How do you say corn in Cantonese? I don't know why everyone asked that. In Mandarin, you would say 玉米. You will see this phrase in Cantonese, 玉米, because the actual way we say it actually sounds really ugly. It's only for specific like times, right? Usually, like just colloquially, if you're just speaking to like your mom, your family, your friends, right? You say sok mai. Oh, how do you say corn in Cantonese? Sok mai. I get it. You know how to say corn in Cantonese. Stop. Sok mai is how you say corn in Cantonese, but for specifically like more fancy or like upscale restaurants, or even just restaurants in general, we'll use the word yumi or yok mai as well, and we won't use sok mai. Why is that? So yumi just sounds very elegant. What it directly translates to is jade grain. Sok mai directly translates to just like a type of grain, right? Sok mai, well, though it doesn't like, it just means corn, it sounds very similar to sok mai, which means like rice that's gone bad or rice that's gone sour. So like that just sounds kind of off. When you want your dish to sound really fancy and like elegant, you want to have the word jade in it, right? So that's why you use the word yumi or yok mai instead of sok mai. Next word is going to be wing, or like chicken wing, duck wing, whatever, right? In Mandarin, they use the word 翅膀, which in Cantonese is 鸡膀, right? But no one says 鸡膀in Cantonese. No one. Instead, we use the word yik in Cantonese. So for something like chicken wing, we don't say 雞翅膀, we say 雞翼, which is also kind of funny because yik also kind of sounds like something that's gone bad. It's usually when like oil's gone bad, you use the word yik. Two more I can think of. Number one is youtiao. Youtiao is the Chinese donut, right? The long Chinese donut. And it's usually cooked in like, you can eat it with congee, you can eat it with, someone in the comments talked about how they eat it with jam. I see it with like sticky rice. I see it just eaten plain. I see it eaten with rice noodle. Super delicious if you've never had it. I still don't know why it's called a donut. It should definitely be called just fried dough. It's not a donut, come on. Anyways, so Mandarin people say youtiao, which directly transliterated into Cantonese would be yao tiu. Some people say it, but more colloquially, everyone usually says 油炸鬼, and 油炸鬼directly translates to oil fried demon or oiled fried ghost or oiled fried insert like some evil demon ghost spirit thing, right? Guai, same thing. Like honestly, we use all those words interchangeably, to be honest. So if you want to eat some Chinese demons and Chinese ghosts, eat a 油炸鬼. Super delicious, not very nutritious, but super delicious. Now the very last one, this is like an honorary mention, not necessarily different, but kind of different. So I don't know why, but Mandarin people, when we refer to eggs, right? Mandarin people have to use the word like almost like always they use the word chicken in front of egg. So instead of saying just egg, they'll say chicken egg. So they'll say 鸡蛋 instead of just saying 蛋, right? But in Cantonese, sometimes we'll say chicken egg, but then more often than not, we'll usually just use egg for chicken eggs, and then maybe other types of eggs will give a modifier for it. So for like, we'll usually just say just dan, right? So for example, like shrimp and egg omelet, right? We'll say hayan cao dan, not hayan cao gai dan, right? It just, we just dropped the chicken part. So those are some words that are different between Mandarin and Cantonese, where the words that we use are actually different. Not just the way we pronounce it, but also the actual word is different between Mandarin and Cantonese. So next time you go to order some food, now you know these differences. Have a good one. Enjoy eating. Bye-bye.